All right.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Off the Bench, the podcast made by the fans, for the fans, passionate sports fans. I'm joined by the best analyst in the business. I'm Sean Dustin. This is Kevin Cornegay and Javon Tavares. How you guys doing out there tonight, fellas?
Good. How you doing?
Man, blessed and highly favored, man. I really want to start tonight's show by sending out some heartfelt sentiments and prayers to those that are being affected by the Northern California wildfires. Suspected that it started from a PG&E down line, and looking at some of the imagery, it's the people. These neighborhoods have been decimated. It really looks like something from Hiroshima or some kind of nuclear fallout. Some of these before and after pictures. Big shout outs to the first responders and the people out there helping fight the wildfires. Many of them incarcerated individuals, that have worked through the programs to go out there and be out there helping citizens. So, heartfelt sentiments to everybody affected, by those that have lost lives, by those that are displaced right before the holidays. It's really a sad situation.
Yeah.
With sports, it's something that obviously galvanizes people from all different races, creeds, backgrounds, people that may not normally know each other, and it's something that gets us by. It's entertainment, and so hopefully, we can be an extension of that with this Off the Bench podcast. Our first topic that we're going to cover tonight is these Major League playoffs, these Major League Baseball playoffs. It's ramped up. It's high intensity. We have some upsets already. Even my own team, who I didn't see coming in and beating Cleveland. And, if you've watched our previous episodes, I'm very honest about it. And that's what you're going to get from us. The Yankees knocked off Cleveland in an epic 5-game series. It was tied 2-2. Didi Gregorius teeing off on Corey Kluber, the Cy Young hopeful, and taking the Yankees to the American League Championship Series. Fellas, now we have Chicago holding on right now, 9-8. I think it's 8th inning, maybe 9th inning now. We have the winner of Washington, Chicago, moving on to face LA. We have a series starting tomorrow with New York traveling to Houston. I need to know, even though some of our predictions were wrong in our last episode, guys, who do you guys see winning in this Yankees Astros championship series? I'm going to start with you, Javon, as a fellow Yankee fan.
Hey, so it looks like once again I was wrong. For those individuals watching, for those of us that proclaim to be professionals and proclaim to be experts, it hurts to be wrong. Now, sometimes you need to go against your own team for the sake of being 100% honest with ourselves and as well as the people that follow us. So I did not see the Yankees coming back to win that series. They came back to win the series, being down 0-2. Now, I'm always leery of a short series, a 5-game series, because anything can happen. It's not like being down 0-3 and coming back, even though the Boston Red Sox did that to our Yankees back in the day. We remember the Kurt Schilling bloody sock and all that, right? But being down 0-2, there's a sense of being able to come back and getting a victory when all you need is 3 in a row. So let's give kudos to the Yankees. Let's give kudos. I didn't think they'd be able to do it. They didn't get a great performance from their headliner, Aaron Judge. He continues to strike out like it's the thing to do. However, the pitching has been strong. The pitching has been strong. So, and their bullpen is excellent. So, and then Gregorius, my goodness, 2 home runs to lift that team to a Game 5 victory. So it was a shocker. I was wrong about that. And I got to ride the hot team right now. The Yankees definitely, to me, beat the best team left in either league, a team that I picked to win the World Series. So I think that they match up with Houston a lot better than they did with Cleveland, and they came back and they beat Cleveland. I think they're confident. I think that the Yankees have got their swagger back, the pinstripes, the Bronx Bombers. That attitude
Yeah.
is back.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I really like their pitching lineup. So in game one, looks like they're going to have Tanaka pitch. Game two, they're going to have Severino pitch, and then they're going to have, I believe, in game three. Is it game three or is it game four that Sabathia is going to pitch? I think it's game three, right?
Sabathia is pitching game three. We got Sonny Gray
Okay.
on the mound in game four.
Okay, game four. Okay. So yeah, I like the Yankees to win that series. I'm going to say 4 games to 2. Even though Houston, I believe during the regular season, they had a 5-2 advantage. But we have to throw that out the window right now. It's the postseason. Yanks are hot. They're confident. So I'm going with the Yanks to win the ALCS.
Kevin, same question. We have a Yankee team riding emotion, fighting for their manager, Joe Girardi, who made an unprecedented mistake on not challenging a play on a hits batsman. But the Yankees are full of steam, but we have a very intimidating Houston Astros team who has pitching,
Indeed.
who added Justin Verlander near the end of the year. He's pitched lights out in the second half. We have a lot of bats, and we have a confident team playing at home. Kevin, I need to know how you feel about this ALCS matchup.
Well, first of all, starting in the divisional series, if you're Cleveland, up 2-0, you're not able to finish. When you're up 2-0, that game 3 is absolutely gigantic. Obviously, the Yankees are on the ropes. They have to win.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Cleveland, you have to come in with the mentality that you have to win that game too. Remember, that was a 1-0 score. And that's where it started for the Yankees. They got the great pitching. I believe it was Severino was on the mound. Was he on the mound or was it so he gives them no, Tanaka, I believe, was on the mound for game 3.
Yeah, Tanaka had the great game 3 performance.
He went 7 strong.
Yeah.
He went seven
strikeouts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you're Cleveland, you know that you could be in big trouble. You didn't score a run. You lose game 3. Now a game 4 is an absolute must win, because in baseball, I looked at a stat. The number 1 seed out of all of the professional leagues that we have, the number 1 seed in baseball is the 1 seed. They don't get to the World Series. They get there about 30% of the time. I saw that stat.
Wow.
About 30% of the time, the 1 seed in baseball is able to get to the World Series, and only about 33% of the time is the 1 seed able to win the championship. So a lot of the times you have these wild card teams that come in and they get hot. When you can win your first game in the postseason, even if it's in the wild card, I always believe you start your momentum in the postseason, not necessarily the last 15, 20 games of the regular season, but once you get to the postseason, that's where you start your momentum. Obviously, the Yanks are on a roll. I feel horrible for Cleveland Indian fans. We all picked Cleveland World Series. They had a tremendous year, won 22 games in a row. I think it's going to be another tough task for the Yankees again, because you're playing arguably the second or the third best team in baseball now. The Houston Astros, they've been consistent. They have great pitching. They have a better bullpen than the Yankees. And then offensively, they're on par with them. I actually picked Houston in 6 games to be able to move on to the World Series. But isn't it fun? I don't like the Yankees, but it's fun when they are in the postseason. I mean, baseball is fun when the Yankees are in the postseason, when they're winning games, when they're dangerous, when they have the lineup that they have, and then when they can get that pitching from CC Sabathia, big-time performance in Game 5. You know, if it's a Game 5 or a Game 7 situation for the Yankees, and they throw the 6'6", 300-pound CC Sabathia out there, he is going to lock down. That's a guy that you can ride, especially in those big-time games. But I do have Houston being able to get to the World Series.
Okay, fellas, I'll give my take very quickly. I think people underestimate the impact of great pitching in the
Yeah.
playoffs. And see, the thing about the Yankees is that even a couple of games back, they're sitting up 8-3. They got to Corey Kluber early in the game. Had it not been for a grand slam, some timely hitting, the Cleveland's down in that series.
It could be 3-1.
Right. You turn around, you get 7 innings from Tanaka, you get 7 innings from Severino the next game, and then you get 6 strong from Sabathia, who has an all-time performance in his 16th year in the league. He has 8 strikeouts through 4 innings. His slider's unhittable. He's keeping people off balance, and the Yankees have one of the best bullpens in the league. If they can get 6 strong from any of their starters, they're virtually unhittable after that. You get Roberson in there, you get Aroldis Chapman, minus his deficiencies with the Cubs last year against Cleveland. He came back and pitched great against Cleveland, even having sat 30 minutes on the bench yesterday during a long inning. I think that was all during Brett Gardner's at-bat, if I remember correctly. This guy Brett Gardner saw about 17, 20 pitches, man. And that's an at-bat to me that defined the series and has defined the Yankees thus far in the postseason. They're scrappy. They're getting really good at-bats outside of Aaron Judge, who set a record for 4 strikeout games consecutively with 3, which is horrible. That outside breaking ball is kryptonite for him. He's a rookie. He's learning, and great performance by Gregorius, Brett Gardner, other guys picking him up. I have them going into Houston and upsetting them in 7 games. I have them winning 4-3. I really like Houston's makeup, but I don't trust a guy named Dallas on a Houston team, okay, who's their starter in game 1. All right, that's already some kind of oxymoron going on, okay? I like our pitching at this point. We're getting great performances at the right time of year. We have a great bullpen, and we have a great closer. We've had timely hitting, and we're a scrappy ball club. We're not the sexy pick like Houston. We're not what everybody wants to see, in this great new stadium and all of that. And I have a lot of love for Houston. However, I have the Yankees, and not just because of my bias, but now seeing them play against the best team in baseball, seeing what they're capable of, seeing their competitive spirit, and seeing all the makeup of what you need in a team. You even have Sabathia diving for balls, taking huge divots out of the field. What else do you want? The guy's moving slow as camel snot on a winter morning, but he's getting the job done, and that's what it takes. And all of a sudden, you get a timely error by another team, a pass ball, get runners on base, and Joe Girardi, being a scrapper as a player, he's also scrappy as a coach. I love the way the team has galvanized around him. I have the Yankees in 7. Moving on to the NLCS, we have the Dodgers, the most winningest team in baseball this year. They seemingly have no weaknesses except Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs,
right?
who will give up 4 home runs in a game, man. Right. I don't know what the science is on that, but you have a multiple Cy Young Award winner, a guy that's going to go down as an all-time great pitcher, stumbling a little bit. But you have a Dodger team that looks almost unbeatable. It looks like they might be facing the Cubs. I haven't seen the final score yet, but
Cubs advanced.
Cubs advanced. Yep. Congratulations to the Cubbies. R.I.P. Harry Carey. We're gonna root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. Okay, so I need Kevin. We're gonna start with you. I need to know, out of the World Series champs, the defending World Series champs versus the LA Dodgers, who do you have winning in this NLCS matchup, and why?
I love the Dodgers in this matchup, mainly because the Cubs don't have a World Series bullpen. Their bullpen is not the same as it was last year. Particularly once you get to the LCS, it goes, can you get from your starter to your closer with the least amount of headwind? And I believe that the Dodgers can get from their starter to their closer, Kenley Jensen, with that cut fastball with the least amount of headwind, the least amount of stress. We saw tonight It was a bullpen game tonight. Cubs with an 8-4 lead almost give it up. They end up winning the game 9-8, but they needed that extra run in the late innings to be able to finish Washington off. So I do like the Dodgers. Again, I go back to I felt that the Diamondbacks would give LA a big time test because they dominated them during the regular season. But once it got to the postseason, the starting pitching, bullpen for the Dodgers. And I think Dave Roberts found a secret weapon in Kenta Maeda, a former starter, putting him in that long position in the bullpen. I think that can work wonders for them. They're facing the champions who have tremendous heart. And Joe Madden, their manager, said during the Cubs winning streak, he said, I want to play the Dodgers. He says, I love how we match up with the Dodgers, if we get to that point in the season. So it's going to be a tremendous matchup. Anytime your number one, your weakness, if you will, is the mental stability of a Clayton Kershaw, you're in good shape, because I still think Clayton's stuff is the best in the game. It'll just be about getting through that fourth, fifth, or sixth inning when he runs into a little bit of trouble. Is he able to make the right pitches? The last couple of years when they've been in the postseason, he's throwing breaking balls at the wrong time. Guys are hitting him out of the park. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he's fully healthy. But the Dodgers will be able to throw out Kershaw twice in this matchup. Yu Darvish probably twice if they have to go. So that's 4 times you're going to face the number 1 and number 2 starter for the Dodgers. I think that's a key. And again, once you get it to Kenley Jansen, he's able to lock it down with that cut fastball reminiscent of a Mariano Rivera. Yeah. But I do think the Dodgers lineup is a little bit too deep. So I'm going to go Dodgers in a classic.
Okay. You heard it here first, guys. Kevin has the Dodgers winning 4-2. Javon, same question. We have an LA Dodger team that looks almost unbeatable. We have a Cubs team who's not quite the team they were last year. They have some bullpen deficiencies. Javier Baez has found himself on the bench. However, they're still scrappy. They made it here. They have great coaching. They have timely hit and run plays, and they really play small ball well when it comes to this point in the season. And when you get to the postseason, who do you have winning in this NLCS and why?
So I agree with Kevin. Actually, my take is a mirror of what Kevin said. He just happened to get to it before I did. I have the Dodgers winning this series for the very reasons that he mentioned. I think they have the most well-rounded team left in the baseball tournament. I really, really like Jensen. I think he's a master when it comes to closing games out. And so we talked about on a prior episode how you must be able to win low run games, and you got to be able to close when you have that opportunity. And I think the Dodgers, Jensen is an absolute master. So Clayton Kershaw, as he said, one of the best pitchers that you're going to find out there. If you have to worry about his mental stability, if that's your main problem, he's got the physical talent. But if you have to worry about his mental stability, that's your biggest problem, then, as he said, you're in good shape. I do think that this is the year that Clayton Kershaw steps it up. I think he gets past that mental hurdle. I think his team is confident. I think they have confidence in him. And I see the Dodgers getting past the Cubs, who are the champions, by the way. They are the champions. I think they do have the requisite heart. I think they want it. But it's hard to repeat in Major League Baseball, just like it is in any other professional sport. It's hard to repeat. There's a reason why the Giants were winning championships every other year, right? Because it's hard to put together a back-to-back season of being the very best. So I think that works against the Cubs. And for all the other reasons that we mentioned, all the other aforementioned reasons, I'm picking the Dodgers to win 4-2. So I have both series 4-2. Dodgers in the NLCS, and then Yankees in the ALCS.
How beautiful would that? What kind of ratings would you get with the LA New York
No
series?
question.
The
No question.
history, you have a Brooklyn Dodgers moving to LA, you have the Yankees, you have this scrappy team that wasn't even supposed to be there versus the team that's been
Yeah.
beating up on everybody all year. You have the subplots, you have a little bit of everything going on there. I think the fans would love to see that. It'd be some great baseball. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I have LA beating Chicago as well, except it's not as close. I have them winning 4-1. I have Chicago eking out a game. I think they have too many holes at this point. Last year, it almost seemed destined that they were going to make it to the World Series. They didn't have a lot of hiccups during the regular season. This was not the same. Madden coached around some things. They faced some injuries, but guys that showed up big last year didn't show up as big this year. Hendricks hasn't had his best stuff. I don't see them being able to pitch around and dance around the Dodgers lineup. Too many bats in the lineup. Too many guys that can really grind out at-bats. And, their starting pitching is lights out. They have a great closer. At this time of the year, you need a complete ball club, and LA is one of the best we have, top to bottom. They changed their strategy a couple years back when Magic Johnson and his team bought the ball club. They were willing to spend money like the Omar Minayas and other LA franchises, Anaheim. And so they've really taken a step forward, and they're the real deal. And I see them getting all the way to the World Series. Moving on to our next topic, shifting gears from the MLB to the NBA. It's right around the corner. I'm getting goosebumps. I know you can't see them. I know you can't see them under the shirt, but I'm getting goosebumps, fellas. The NBA's back. 10-17. We're 5 days away. We have marquee matchups in the first game of the season. I need to know. I'm going to start with you, Javon. I know you're a huge NBA fan, a fan of all things basketball. This guy has one of the coldest jump shots in real life that you'll ever see. He doesn't like to talk about it, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. He's a cold-blooded assassin on the court as well. Javon, I need to know what team this year. There's been a lot of movement in the offseason. There's been a lot of turnover. There's been a lot of plots and subplots, some trades that were supposed to happen that didn't happen, guys ending up places that you didn't expect. We have a new look OKC. We have a new look Houston. We have a new look Cleveland. We have a new look Warriors. They've added some pieces. We have a lot of teams that are vying for a top spot. Everybody seems to be chasing the Warriors. But what I want to know is, what team are you most excited about this year and why?
So I could go a couple different directions with this. Clearly, I think in the past I've expressed my love and my admiration for Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I think that would be an obvious choice if I said that I was excited to see not Kevin Durant, but Paul George and Carmelo Anthony with Russell Westbrook. I think that's too easy. So I'm going to go a little off the radar. The team I'm probably most excited to see out west is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I really like the fact that they added Jamal Crawford, a guy that's going to establish himself as one of the best six men in the league. They brought over Jimmy Butler, and he's reunited, with the great coach in Tom Thibodeau. So I think the maturation of Karl Anthony Towns as well as Andrew Wiggins is going to be something to behold. So I really, really like the Minnesota Timberwolves to take a step up. I think they will make the playoffs this year. Last year they were in contention, but this year they're definitely going to get over the hump. And I think they have the requisite talent now to compete with the top 4 or 5 teams in the West. Now, I'm not saying that they can get a top 5 seed, because the West is just absolutely brutal this year. However, they do have the pieces. Karl Anthony Towns, we had a debate on this show a couple months back. Some people feel like he's the best young big man in the game, and some people feel like he'll be the best player in the NBA in a couple years. Andrew Wiggins, even though he took a step up in terms of his points per game, I still want to see him take more of a leadership role, and I still want to see him make more timely buckets. To me, I think Andrew Wiggins is the type of guy that can get you buckets in the first 3 quarters, but rarely have I seen him make meaningful shots in the fourth quarter. Now, if you have a Jimmy Butler, a guy that's a cold-blooded assassin, a guy that can play defense, and a guy that can make shots, it should free up Andrew Wiggins to be a little more effective in the fourth quarter to get those buckets. So I'm excited to see the Minnesota Timberwolves. I really like the fact Jamal Crawford is going to be coming off the bench and he's going to give them a spark. So that's my team in the West. And then, and then in the East, I'm excited about the Celtics.
Okay. Now, I think Wiggins has 148 million reasons to be better in the fourth quarter this year. He just signed a max contract. And I think and you know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, the Timberwolves, they wanted to have some sit downs and talks with Wiggins before they committed to this 148 million. Yeah. It wasn't just, hey, let's give him the max. He scored 23 last year. It's a career high. Let's give him the max.
Right.
He's 22. He's 23 years old. He'll get no. It was like, hey, we need to sit down and talk about your intestinal fortitude, your mental approach to the game, and we need to see, are you really going to be worth every penny of this super max contract? Okay, so you know, obviously, whatever he told him, it worked. I guarantee you, wasn't his haircut that won him over. But that notwithstanding, Kevin, I need to know, going into this NBA season, a lot of turnover, a lot of changes in the rosters of teams around the league. What team are you most excited to see and why?
Oklahoma City Thunder. Can't wait to see this. I want to see a motivated Carmelo Anthony because I still think he has 3 years left. He has 3 years left of top all-star ability. Russell Westbrook. And look at this. Westbrook at the point, Paul George and Carmelo, they can shoot the three. So they'll be able to spread the floor. There's so many things that Billy Donovan is going to be able to do with this team. I know folks want to focus on Carmelo being a ball stopper, being a ball stopper. Let's be honest. In New York, Carmelo didn't have any guys that could really shoot the three, spread the floor, keep the space open. Russell Westbrook last year, he didn't really have anybody out there that can really knock down that three consistently. Paul George, Carmelo Anthony will be able to continue to keep the floor spread. They'll be able to post up Carmelo a little bit. They'll be able to post up Paul George a little. I mean, they'll be able to do a lot of things. Russell Westbrook, he'll be able to have an extended break and not lose his lead because he got a guy like Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, two guys who can carry a franchise on their own. I'm extremely excited to see what the makeup of this team is going to look like. They're going to have a lot of length on the perimeter. I think they're going to be better defensively than people. You still have Andre Roberson starting lineup. He'll provide his length. I'm excited. I can't wait. A motivated Carmelo, a motivated Russell Westbrook. And Paul George has a lot to play for too. He's looking for that max contract, which he's going to get probably by the Lakers next year. But he wants to show face. He wants to make sure that he plays well this year. And we're set up for that collision course, that matchup with the Golden State Warriors. So that's one of the teams I'm excited to look at. Portland with the healthy Nurkic at the center position. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. C.J. McCollum, obviously, Damian Lillard, a terrific point guard. Oakland, California via Weber State. He's going to be back. You know, Damian Lillard, they're healthy. They play 80 to 82 games. Them throughout for the long haul. I'm excited to watch those guys. In the East, I'm very excited to see what we're going to get out of the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm excited to see Ben Simmons. Now, look, Ben Simmons was Lonzo Ball before Lonzo Ball.
Oh, God.
Ben Simmons, with his ability to see the court, see the floor, passing ability, make others around him better. 6'9", 235, 240. He's shooting the mid-range jump shot a lot better. He's going to be a playmaker. I think he's going to play the point guard position. I'm excited to see what we're going to get out of Ben Simmons this year. That's right. He's going to be your rookie of the year. Bank it. And Philly is going to have an opportunity. If they can stay healthy, that's the key. Big fella, I'm talking to you. If you can stay healthy, he got a new contract this week, right?
Yeah, Embiid.
He got paid.
Yeah.
Embiid, yeah. If you can stay healthy and give your club 30 to 32 minutes a night,
Not gonna happen.
we're going to be looking at Philly as a 7-8 seed trying to sneak into the playoffs. I'm really excited to see Ben Simmons, the Philadelphia 76ers. Don't make a fool out of me, guys.
Okay, look, guys, excellent picks, excellent analysis as always. The team that I'm most excited to watch this year is the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm very, very high on Ben Simmons. What a great basketball mind, an athletic player with a lot of talent, can attack the basket, always looking for his teammates. He's going to have a shooter like J.J. Redick there. He's going to have Fultz who can knock down shots as well, who can score at the point guard position. You have Embiid, who had the highest points per game average per minutes as Wilt Chamberlain, since Wilt Chamberlain as a rookie. I know there's obviously huge concerns with his health, as evidenced by his incentive-laden contract that he just signed. He has to play a specific amount of minutes. He has to make first NBA all team. He has to possibly win MVP in the 2018 season. So he probably won't realize all of the money in that contract, but it's heavily guaranteed, although there's a lot of incentives based on health. And they can't be the same injuries that he's had with either his foot or his back. Another guy that I hate his hairdo, but I love the way he plays. He trusted the process. His range has expanded. I've watched these guys in the summer league. I've watched a couple of the preseason games, although Embiid has only played one game. Most exciting team to me, and just full of potential. I'd love to see them realize it. I'd love to see them stay healthy. Now I'm going to ask you guys real quick, who's going to take home some regular season hardware? We're talking rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, sixth man, and MVP. Kevin, I'm going to start with you first. You already said that Ben Simmons is your rookie of the year. You said bank it. We can put money on it. Vegas odds may agree with you. Let's see. Who's your defensive player of the year? Who's your sixth man? And who's your MVP?
My MVP, we'll start with that, is going to be none other than Mr. Flat Earth, Kyrie Irving, Boston Celtics. He will win the MVP this year. Obviously, wow. Yes, Kyrie Irving. He orchestrated a snake move, getting out of Cleveland, getting traded over to Boston. And I think that he's going to be able to diversify his game a little bit. Obviously, he's going to, 25, 26 points per game at the point guard position, but I think his assist numbers are going to go up. I really like what I've seen from Jaylen Brown up to this point in the preseason. Gordon Hayward's going to be a 20-point per game guy. I think he'll be able to get numbers feeding the ball to Gordon Hayward. Al Horford, the pick and pop game. I think that's going to be good to Kyrie. And look for Jason Tatum to come off the bench and provide some scoring punch. I just think that Boston's going to be the one seed in the East. And we know when we talk about MVP, the voters want to see where are you located in the rankings. Obviously, Russell Westbrook just had an unbelievable triple-double year. As the sixth seed, he was able to win the MVP. But, 9 times out of 10, the MVP is going to come from the top 2 seeds in each conference. I think Boston's going to be a 1 seed. I think they're going to win up to 60. They're going to win more than 60 games this year. I firmly believe that. And I think Kyrie is going to be the driving force. He's going to be motivated to prove to everybody he made a great decision. And, he's looking to come at LeBron James. So it's going to be very interesting. But I have Kyrie as your MVP. Your defensive player of the year, I'm going to select between Draymond Green and Kawhi Leonard. Draymond wins it last year. I'm going to go with Kawhi this year. I think both of those players rely on them to be defensive player of the year candidates. So they kind of already have an advantage in that both teams funnel those guys defensively. And you just don't get that maybe with the Anthony Davis for the Pelicans, where the defense is tailored around funneling everything to a guy like a Draymond Green, as far as covering on pick and rolls and the things he can do as far as blocking shots, so on and so forth. Same thing for Kawhi Leonard. He's always at some point in the game, he's going to check your best offensive player on the wing. Tremendous job. And then he has the range to be able to come over from the perimeter, from outside the three-point line, get back into the paint, affect shots as far as blocking shots, getting steals, so on and so forth. So they're going to allow those guys to roam around a little bit and just to be able to make a lot of plays. To break the tie, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard. As far as sixth man of the year, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to say. Who's your sixth man?
Jamal Crawford, Minnesota Timberwolves. He'll have a tremendous year coming off the bench for those guys. So that's what I got.
Okay, Javon, we have Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, and MVP. Who's taking home some hardware, in your estimation, by the end of this great 2017-2018 NBA regular season?
So my Rookie of the Year is going to be Dennis Smith Jr., Dallas Mavericks. I think out of all the rookies, I think he's going to be on a team that there isn't much expectations for the Mavericks. Dirk is a little long in the tooth. Dallas is not expected to compete for a top 6-7 seed, even a playoff spot, to be honest with you. But I think Dennis Smith's talent is such that they're going to turn the keys to the vehicle over to that young man. And for those of you that don't know much about this fella, you will very soon. What a great draft we had in terms of the point guard talent. My goodness, there were so many different teams that couldn't go wrong, whether it was Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, there's a bunch of solid guys out there. But I think Dennis Smith, by virtue of him getting the keys to the Dallas Mavericks organization, I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. MVP, man, Kev almost stole my thunder. He almost stole my thunder with Kyrie Irving. However, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard. Yes, you heard it correctly. I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. While the Houston Rockets get the press and they get the glory and they get all the preseason adulation, while the OKC Thunder are being praised for the moves that they made in the offseason, Golden State Warriors are the champions. They've got 4 Hall of Famers. You got Greg Popovich and you got Kawhi Leonard flying under the radar. Kawhi Leonard last year was a top 3 MVP candidate. If it wasn't for the great seasons of Russell Westbrook and James Harden, Kawhi Leonard could have won that MVP last year. This year, he will win the MVP. If he stays healthy, I like Kawhi Leonard to win the MVP. In terms of a sixth man of the year, I agree with Kevin on Mr. Jamal Crawford. I think no matter where he goes, he's always going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's aggressive. He's a guy that can shoot. He can create his own offense. And I think he'll do well in a system under Thibodeau, who hasn't had the best offensive guys in the past. But now he's got a plethora of athletes that can make plays in his starting lineup. And now Crawford's going to have the green light coming off the bench. I think he'll have a wonderful, wonderful season. And finally, Defensive Player of the Year. Mr. James Harden is going to be my Defensive Player of the Year. So far, the defense that he's been playing on that so-called case that he was supposed to catch about the person being robbed. What was it? The person being robbed at the strip club, or him setting somebody up. You know, the defense he's been playing to not be charged for that, I think, is noteworthy. And I think it gives him an early advantage in the Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, my gosh, man.
So James Harden, we got to throw his name in the hat. You know, he's not in jail yet. So obviously his lawyers have been playing great defense. But seriously, Don't you sit here and do this, Sean.
You're a
Don't
condescending jerk, man. What a jerk.
Don't you sit here and do it.
What a jerk.
For the things that you and Kev had to say last year about James Harden, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Because we can pull up the footage.
These were substantiated first-hand accounts, man. This is speculation. You're slandering the guy's name. Come on, man. Who's your defensive player of the year, Javon?
Listen, all I was trying to say is that the guy's been playing great defense. He's been playing great defense. He's not in jail.
Touche.
With James Harden. I think he's going with James Harden.
All right, James Harden. James Harden
I'm not going with James Harden. I'm going with Draymond Green. I like him to repeat. Right. And the reason why I like Draymond Green to repeat is with Kevin Durant on that team, with how well-rounded that roster is, and with the superstars that they have in Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green can focus solely on defense and rebounding and setting people up. And so there's no pressure for him to score. So I think he's going to have a repeat of last year. He's going to be the defensive coordinator for that defense. He's going to be a guy that gets people in the right places. And then he's going to be a guy that makes plays himself. So tremendous post defense, tremendous on the ball defense, and tremendous help side defense. I think that's a trifecta of defensive skills and abilities that you can't beat. So I think Draymond Green is going to repeat and go back-to-back as your defensive player of the year.
Okay, guys, solid picks as usual. Expert analysis outside of the condescending remarks that Javon is levying against James Harden and his defensive attorneys. I'm going to go with Rookie of the Year. I have Ben Simmons. I think this is a guy who has a maturation beyond his years, really unselfish with the basketball. I think their team is going to be a playoff team in the East with a lot of the movement that has happened. I see them probably being the 7th seed in the East. I see Ben Simmons being a big reason for that. My defensive player of the year comes from the same team. It may sound like a shock, but I have Joel Embiid. Hold on. Sorry about that, fellas. I have Embiid. As defensive player of the year. I think he's going to play between 68 and 70 games, although they're going to start him off with limited minutes. I think with a young team, with some rookies and the youth, I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to erase mistakes. He's a great weak side defender. He's a great on-ball defender. In his limited time last year, he averaged over 2.5 blocks in 20 games. I think he's going to average between 12 and 14 rebounds, and I think he's going to average between 3 and 4 blocks a game. And I think he is going to be the defensive player of the year in a surprise. I love his effort. I love his energy. For my 6th man of the year, I have Tristan Thompson. I have a guy moving to the bench with Kevin Love starting at the 5. I have a guy that is probably going to almost lead the league in offensive rebounds and may average 10 rebounds off the bench. Very similar to what Dennis Rodman was for the Pistons in their championship runs. A guy that's just high energy, go in there, get rebounds, not looking to score, really scrappy. I think you have some players now that are going to be throwing the lob pass with Derrick Rose. I saw some really good stuff between him and Jeff Green, some chemistry on the court. You guys have some guys that can push the ball. And Kyrie Irving wasn't the best, lob passer. What they were asking of him while he was there was primarily a scorer. And you can see early on with Boston that Kyrie Irving is a much better distributor than what he was probably given credit for with Cleveland, making some very outstanding passes and breaking down defenses with the kind of different players that you have. I think Tristan Thompson coming off the bench, not so much from a firepower standpoint, which generally we see players winning 6th man of the year being high volume scorers off the bench. I think he gets the nod as a defensive player, as an offensive rebounder, defensive rebounder, and then probably scoring between 8 and 10 points a game to go with about 10 rebounds a game. So in my MVP, I have none other than the 4-time MVP LeBron James. I think he has a lot to prove. A lot of people are saying best offseason he's had in a long time. With Isaiah Thomas out probably at least until December, he's going to be the one carrying the load essentially on that team. I think LeBron James thrives in situations where he's surrounded by role players more so than he does when he's surrounded by star players. When everybody knows their role, he knows where they are, what he can get out of them. Although I don't like Dwayne Wade starting, I think you're going to see LeBron James a lot, as you always do, with the second unit, with the J.R. Smiths, maybe a Kevin Love, a Jeff Green, a Derrick Rose. And I think LeBron James has a year where he feels he has a lot to prove. People are thinking that Kyrie Irving left because of him. He has a chip on his shoulder, which he doesn't generally have. And I have LeBron James coming out with the breakout year. So moving on to professional football.
Before you do that, Sean,
yeah.
real quick, and just give me your teams. Now we're not going to get into the analysis. Who's in the finals for you guys? Just your teams.
I got Cleveland and Golden State again.
Okay, who you got, Javon?
I have the Celtics and I have Golden State.
Celtics, Golden State. I'm going to go Cleveland, Golden State. Okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the NFL. There's been a lot of controversy going on lately, fellas. We have the President of the United States, although that's a generous term. We have the Commander-in-Chief calling players sons of bitches. We have players kneeling. We have silent protests. We have the protest being manipulated into something that is not, about disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the anthem. We have a variety of players, in different types of protests, raising the fist up, kneeling, sitting down, joining teammates. We had coaches kind of rallying around this, and the owners of the ball club saying, hey, we respect this. And we had heard grumblings that Jerry Jones had been saying some really, really strong stuff, but it came out as fake news initially. Oh boy, did he clear that up for all of the people out there. And I quote, there's no room here if it comes between looking non-supportive of our players and of each other, or creating the impression that you're disrespecting the flag. We will be non-supportive of each other. We will not disrespect the flag. If there's anything that is disrespectful to the flag, then we will not play. Okay? Understand? If we're disrespecting the flag, we won't play. Period. Close quote. This is Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, someone who's poured $1 million into the Trump inauguration. This is somebody who appeared to be joining with the players and the coaches, kneeling before the national anthem a couple of games ago. We have the NAACP calling Jones tone deaf, saying he's violating constitutional rights. We have players like Malcolm Jenkins coming out and saying, hey, players are going to keep kneeling. We have Buccaneers players saying there's going to be an uproar if individuals are forced to stand. And we have, as far as Titans wide receiver Rashard Matthews, saying, I'll be done playing football if he's asked to stay in the locker room. Jones and Garrett got together, met with the Cowboys players, and Jones reportedly said he was trying to look like the bad guy so it would take heat off the players. What a noble thing to do. He wants to find ways to support the players and their causes. Guys, starting with you, Javon, are you buying this? How do you feel about Jerry Jones' inflammatory comments on the heels of Donald Trump, now commending him, saying he's lauding him for standing up and demanding players by forcing penalties on them? Javon, how do you feel about this?
Well, I'm not surprised that Jerry Jones actually came out and said that. It doesn't surprise me, not one bit. I think we talked on the last show that the NFL owners were protecting their bottom line. When they came out with their players and they locked arms and they knelt before the national anthem or during the national anthem, or whether they stayed in the tunnel or whether they didn't come down at all, they only care about their bottom line, period, point blank. Jerry Jones is a very shrewd businessman. He's an individual that's made a fortune, primarily because he is a great businessman, and he is simply protecting his bottom line here. He understands that one week I need to come out with the players, and I need to show that we're unified and that we're against the president telling us how to run our business or how to run my business. And then the heat starts to generate where individuals are saying, well, if this disrespect of the flag continues, then we're not going to come to Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium. We're not going to support the Cowboys. So in essence, you're alienating that fan base. So he's just ping-ponging back and forth. And he's going to say whatever he has to say to appease a fan base one week, to appease players another week. And so this does not surprise me at all. And so you could see how he went back and forth just within the last couple of days. You can see where he said, well, if you don't stand for the flag or you disrespect the flag, then you won't play. But then, just today or yesterday or whenever it was, he said, well, I just did that because I wanted to deflect the attention and I wanted to be the bad guy. So Jerry is doing what Jerry does. He's a shrewd businessman. This doesn't surprise me. And you have to know what you're dealing with. NFL owners are here to make a profit. They're greedy and they're going to protect their bottom line. Social rights and social injustice is not at the top of their agenda, sadly enough. So, but it is what it is. I'm at a point in my life where I'm done playing the victim. I'm done playing the victim. Period. This is what we do in America. We get we become victims based on things that don't go our way, and then all of a sudden we want everybody else to understand where we're coming from. That's not reality. It's not reality. So if people really want to stand up and they really want to have their voice and their opinions be heard, it's going to have to come down to people saying, hey, look, fire me, Jerry. I'm not going to play. So when the civil rights era was going, it took for people to boycott the buses, some of whom needed to take the bus to get to work, to make money for their families. They said, we're not going to take the buses. So if players in the NFL really want to draw attention to their issues and the things that they care about, they're going to need to say, hey, Jerry, guess what? I'm kneeling. Do something about it. Fire me. And then the rest of the players are going to have to do the same thing. If enough people stand up, if enough star players stand up, what's the alternative? Not having an NFL team? Is that the alternative? These guys have already established that they're in it to make a profit. So you can't alienate all your best players, your star players. That's what it's going to take. So, NFL players need to get it cracking. Don't be surprised at what Jerry does or what anybody else does.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
I like it. Kevin, same question, man. You have owner really drawing a line in the sand. Can't say it's a big surprise. This guy, Jerry Jones, has challenged the NFL. What makes you think he's not going to challenge some players that he has under contract? What do you think of the rhetoric? What do you think of the stance? And where do you think we go from here, Kevin?
I think you guys have covered it beautifully from the social conscious side of it. So I'm just going to take it a different angle. This thing begins and ends with this right here. In the rule book, is there a rule? Like there is in the NBA, there's a rule. You must stand for the national anthem in the NBA. Adam Silver, a couple of weeks ago, reiterated, hey, we already have a rule in our rule book. We all stand for the national anthem. Is there a rule in the NFL that a player must stand or sit for the national anthem?
Nope.
There's no rule, which means that the player has an option to either stand or sit or kneel for the national anthem. You're trying to make a rule out of thin air. You can't do that. The rules have to be collectively bargained between the NFL Players Association and the National Football League. Okay, so you can't just all of a sudden in 2 weeks we have a new rule. I think Jerry Jones got with the commissioner, Roger Goodell, and they had a talk, and they understood, look, there's no rule in the rule book, so you're going to have to back those comments up. You can make anybody stand for the national anthem. It's not in the rule book, and if you try to do something about it, these guys are going to take us to court, and they're going to win. There's no rule in the rule book. If you want to change the rule in the off season, you'll get together with the Players Association. You'll put a rule in place. Everybody must stand for the national anthem. That's it. That's it. Jerry Jones is a competitor. He wants to win.
Yes, he
If
does.
Ezekiel Elliott, who, by the way, is going to serve his 6-game suspension, but if Dak Prescott comes out and says, I'm not going to play because you're making people stand for the national anthem, if Jerry Jones is close to getting to the playoffs, he's going to walk those comments back. Okay, he's going to pat that boy on the back and say, hey, don't worry about the national anthem, but go out here and win this football game. All right. Jerry Jones wants to win. He wants to make money and he wants to win. He needs a Super Bowl. He hasn't won one since Barry Switzer, right?
Right.
Barry Switzer. So you're disappointed if you are a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, maybe you're not. There's a lot of people out there that want these guys to stand for the national anthem, whatever the case may be. But if you're a player, you are a little disappointed in Jerry Jones because he's pretty much telling you, you either do this or you're done. And he doesn't have the jurisdiction to be able to do that because there's no rule in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, make it easy on yourself. I know there's a lot of people out there arguing with their friends. They're canceling friends. They're deleting people off their Facebook. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. I'm sure there's some families they're not going to go visit here because of this. So many people on both sides of the debate. In the NFL, there's no rule to stand for the national anthem. And what that means is that players have the choice. Don't get gassed up because the president has a personal vendetta against the NFL because he wasn't able to get into the club of team ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he is competing as well. He's competing with the NFL. He's 0-3 up to this point against the NFL. So he's trying to notch a W. All right. This isn't for patriotism because the president isn't the most patriotic guy that we've ever seen. And that's just a fact. He's not patriotic. He's a populist. He's playing to a base, compete with the NFL, and he wants to get a W because he's a competitor. That's what he is. He loves sports. He loves to compete. So, again, is there a rule in the NFL that you must stand or sit for the national anthem? No rule. End of discussion. Let's move on.
Guys, we've ran short on time. We got a little late start. That we're going to end it there. With the controversial topic. We'd love to hear what you guys think. We'd love to see your comments. Please make sure that you join and subscribe to us on YouTube. Off the Bench Sports Podcast will be coming to you every week, Thursday, faithfully at 9 p.m. We're gonna work some kinks out. We're gonna make sure that that you see our faces on Facebook too. We want to engage with the fans. We want some banter with you guys. We want to know what you guys are thinking. We appreciate your viewership thus far. Again, prayers and thoughts go out to all the folks in Puerto Rico. Those folks facing the wildfires in Northern California, those still recovering in Houston, Louisiana, Florida,
Yes.
Mexico, Japan, just all the things that have been going on in the world. I think we really need to although sports kind of gets us away from that, some real stuff, not just the stuff that's being tweeted, not stuff that's being tweeted about, and about ESPN and there's some real things that are going on, and our hearts go out to all of them. We're all men of compassion. We're all men that have families and are devout family men, and so it really hits close to home when all of these things happen, and just thinking about the devastation that all these areas are facing. You guys have a great week. Go ahead.
And one more thing, I just want to add to that. Men, women, children can discriminate, but natural disasters don't. Natural disasters do not discriminate. That is where we need to be placing our efforts to help heal people, to reach out and give people assistance in a true time of need. All this other stuff is contrived. It's not real, but we're led to believe that it's real. Natural disasters do not discriminate. That is real.
That's real. And with that, you guys have a great week, a blessed week. Fellas, on behalf of Kevin Cordigay, Javon Tavares, and myself, Sean Destin, you guys be blessed.